When I was a kid, I loved summer rain. I liked the sound of raindrops on the roof, how puddles turned into little lakes, and how the air became fresh and cool. But my little sister Hannah was scared of storms. Every time lightning flashed in the sky and thunder rumbled, she would squeal and hide under the blanket. She was only 6 and believed that thunder was a big monster yelling at kids for being naughty. I tried to calm her down, but back then I didn't really understand why thunder was so loud either. One evening, a huge black cloud rolled over our village. Hannah hugged me tight and whispered, "Why is it shouting? Why is thunder so angry?" I looked out the window and felt my heart beat faster. The wind shook the branches, lightning ripped across the sky, and the rumble grew louder and louder. I could have told her it's just nature, but when I saw the fear in her eyes, I knew. She didn't need a boring explanation. She needed a story. "Do you want me to tell you the real secret of thunder?" I whispered. She nodded and hugged me even tighter. And that's how our magical journey began. To the sky forge where thunder is born. I held Hannah close and began to tell the story, hoping her eyes would fill with wonder instead of fear. "Imagine," I said, "high above the clouds, there's a giant forge in the sky. That's where the sky blacksmiths work. They're so tall, their heads touch the stars, and their arms are stronger than the wind." "Blacksmiths?" she asked, peeking out from under the blanket. "Yes. They have huge hammers made of pure silver. Every time they strike the sky anvil with their hammers, sparks fly in all directions. Those sparks are what we see as lightning." I pointed to the window, and just then, a bright flash lit up the sky. Hannah jumped, but then gave a small smile. "What about the thunder?" she whispered. "The thunder is the sound of the hammer hitting the anvil," I explained. "The boom rolls across the sky. That's why it's so loud." Her eyes went wide, like she was really picturing the blacksmiths in her mind. "And why do they make lightning?" she asked. I put on a serious face and said, "They forge lightning to light the way for travelers in the dark and to scare off evil things hiding in the night. Without them, the world would be much darker and more dangerous." Hannah went quiet. Another flash lit up the sky, but this time she looked at it with curiosity, not fear. "So, they're not mean?" she asked. "No," I smiled. "They're our protectors. Their job is just really, really loud." Hannah sat very still, listening to every word I said. Now there was more curiosity than fear in her eyes. But she couldn't help asking the next question. "Do they always make such loud noise?" I smiled mysteriously. "No, not always. The loudest thunder doesn't come from the older blacksmiths. It comes from their apprentices." "Apprentices?" she asked, surprised. "Yes. In the Sky Forge, there are little helpers. They're still learning how to use the heavy hammers. Imagine how hard it is to swing a hammer that's bigger than you. That's why their strikes come out clumsy, sometimes too strong or too loud. That's why thunder can suddenly be so sharp it hurts your ears," Hannah giggled. "So, they're the ones banging all messy like that?" "Exactly," I nodded. "And the older blacksmiths watch them and say, 'Don't rush, hold it steady, strike with confidence.' Then the thunder becomes deep, smooth, and even a little soft." Outside, lightning flashed again, and this time the rumble rolled slowly, far into the distance. "That one was probably an older blacksmith," I said. "But when thunder is short and sharp, that's the work of an apprentice." Hannah nodded, listening closely for the next sound. She no longer hid under the blanket. She sat next to me, holding my hand like a partner on an adventure. "You know," she said seriously, "I'm not scared anymore. Because now I hear a blacksmith's hammer, not a monster." And I felt proud. My story was working. Hannah couldn't take her eyes off me. I could tell she wasn't just waiting for answers anymore. She wanted a real adventure. "Where do they get the lightning from?" she asked. "There's always so much of it, and the sky never runs out." I leaned in and whispered, "In the Sky Forge, there's a secret room. A huge vault that glows so brightly, there's no darkness inside at all. That's where the lightning is kept. It's stored in big crystal jars, like fiery arrows." "In jars?" Her eyes sparkled. "Yes. And when a big storm is coming, the blacksmiths open the vault and take out the lightning. They charge it with power and launch it into the sky. That's when everything outside lights up like daytime." Just then, a flash lit up the room for a second. Hannah jumped, then laughed. "So they just opened a jar and let it out?" I laughed with her. "But remember," I added more seriously, "they only open the vault when needed, to chase away a special kind of darkness that's coming to Earth. That's why storms don't happen every day." Hannah thought for a moment. "What if they let out all the lightning?" I shook my head. "That's impossible. Because the moment one lightning bolt flies to Earth, a new one is born in the vault. It's a never-ending cycle." She nodded and sighed happily, and maybe for the first time during a storm, she sat up straight, looking out the window like she was watching a magical show. Hannah was now listening with wide, amazed eyes, like I had really seen that Sky Forge with my own eyes. So I continued, "You know, there's someone in the Sky Forge who's in charge of everything. The master blacksmith. His hands are stronger than any storm, and his beard shines like silver. He makes sure there aren't too many lightning bolts and that thunder doesn't scare children too much." "Is he kind?" my little sister asked shyly. "Very kind," I said. "He's like a grandpa who loves everything to be in order. If the apprentices make too much noise, he lifts his hand, and the storm calms down. But if the world needs extra protection from darkness, he allows them to send out more lightning." Just then, a long, loud thunder rolled through the sky and then faded away. I pointed out the window and said, "See that? He just gave the signal. That's enough." Hannah smiled and snuggled up next to me. "I wish I could see him." I laughed. "Only those who aren't afraid of storms can see him. And you know what? I think you're almost ready." She lifted her chin proudly and didn't hide under the blanket anymore. The next thunderclap came, and she didn't flinch. She listened like she was hearing the sound of important work being done high above the clouds. That night, Hannah and I fell asleep to the sound of thunder. But for the first time, she didn't shake in fear. She listened to the sounds like she was really hearing the hammers of the sky blacksmiths. And when lightning flashed behind the window, she whispered, "They opened another jar." I smiled and felt proud. My little made-up story had made my sister braver. Years have passed. I'm all grown up now. But every time a thunderstorm rolls in, I remember that night. I remember how my sister used to hide under the blanket and how she peeked out to watch the sky. Now I know the real secret of thunder. It's not giant hammers or jars of lightning. It's nature. When lightning cuts through the sky, it heats the air so fast that the air expands and explodes into sound. That's what we hear as thunder. But you know, even though I understand the science, deep inside, I still like to imagine there's a sky forge up there, because that story helped my sister stop being afraid of stormy nights. And that's the real power of stories. They help us be a little braver. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed the story, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.